Donkey Kong Country is a weird game. It's a combination of so many different influences and companies that it's a miracle it's any good at all. A small British developer creating a platformer based on a pivotal but stagnant Japanese franchise using a new and untested technology. And yet, these disparate forces created not only a classic game that revitalized the Donkey Kong franchise, but also made one of the best and most unique soundtracks in the video game music world. First, a brief history of the game. The original Donkey Kong was Nintendo's first arcade hit in the West, and Shigeru Miyamoto's big break. The classic spawned sequels to Donkey Kong Jr., Donkey Kong 3, and 10 years after Donkey Kong 3, Donkey Kong for the Game Boy. These were all Japanese developed and feature music from various Japanese composers. But in 1993, development began a big shift for the series with Donkey Kong Country by the UK-based developer Rare. Nintendo was impressed by a demo Rare made using the pre-rendered CGI look the game is now famous for, so they bought a major chunk of the company and asked them to make a game. Tim and Chris Stamper, the founders of Rare, said they wanted to make a Donkey Kong game, and Nintendo gave them the green light. Donkey Kong Country was composed by David Wise, with Evelyn Fisher and Robin Beanland doing some additional music work. Wise was Rare's primary composer for all of their games from 1985 to 1994, and he made a lot of somewhat overlooked gems with his work on the Wizards and Warriors and Battletoads series. His primary musical inspirations are from early 80s synthesized movie scores, and you can hear that influence all throughout Donkey Kong Country. The game starts with an homage to the Donkey Kong theme from the original arcade and NES game, complete with imitation chiptune sounds, then turns into a hip-hop remix. In 1994, this showed that the series was entering a new era. Nowadays, it's just a stunning reminder that the game was made in the 90s. Not long after starting the game, you hear easily the biggest track, DK Island Swing. DK Island Swing is 3 songs in one. David Wise confirmed this in an interview, saying that there were 3 demos for jungle music that he concatenated into one track. The section people remember best is the middle section with the iconic melody. But it starts with a drum break highly reminiscent of the jazz standard Sing 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 by Louis Prima, and most famously performed by Benny Goodman. The layering keeps up until smoothing out until just the bass drums and a kind of clavichord sound come in for the main section. The melody only plays through once before going into an ethereal and far less jazzy section. Despite not being the upbeat jump-off point, this last section is far more indicative of the game's soundtrack than the more famous middle section. With all the incredible melodies strewn about the game, it's easy to forget that most of the tracks in the game are primarily repeated arpeggios and building synths and pads. For every bonus room Blitz, there's a Voices of the Temple. These pad-filled synth film score-inspired tracks feature in the stages themselves. A major influence I can hear is Vangelis, the composer for Chariots of Fire and Blade Runner. Lots of different notes fill up the space created by the pads swelling in and out, usually followed by a pan flute sample to keep the score from feeling too science fiction. I like to imagine Rare spent a lot of money on the pan flute sample because they certainly got their money's worth, as it's in almost every track. There's industrial influences as well to match the setting of some of the later levels in the game, though the sequel has even more industrial influences. DKC 2 will probably get its own episode at some point. Misty Menace has a bit of this, with clanging sound effects as the drums. Life in the Mines is the standout industrial track, as it has various noises to create a rhythm with relatively static notes in the forefront until the repeated synth bass and drums kick in. While DK Island's swing is easily the most influential and long-lasting melody, among the video game music crowd, the standout track is Aquatic Ambience. With 16 OC remixes, it's the fan favorite, and it's not hard to hear why. All the elements that make the DKC score great are present. The subtle percussion with a muffled bass line create a calm but intense mood, and there's even a singable melody on top of all that. The A section has this eerie building synth string line that slowly climbs. At one point, it just kind of builds as everything else falls out. The line holds just a little too long, and it always gives me goosebumps. It's strange to have a piece as beautiful and poignant as this one, featured in a game about a monkey and an ape fighting crocodiles to save bananas. But here we are. Donkey Kong Country is just the first in a series of incredible game soundtracks. David Wise returned for the most recent entry, Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, and he's still got it. The ambient mood with singable melodies is a difficult balance to hit, but the Donkey Kong Country games rise to the occasion. And this 1994 original started it all. It revamped and rebooted Donkey Kong, and it gave us one of the best soundtracks on the SNES. Thanks for watching, and listen well.